What's up, my wonderful peeps? Shout out to all the viewers and subscribers and to all the followers. So basically we have made it to the end of the year 2020. So we're just gonna take some time and look at a couple of things that would have happened in 2020. And I mean, we have had some controversial issues in 2020, from Marlon Samuels wanting a couple seconds with Ben Stokes' wife, to the butlers out of Jamaica going at it on social media. Having said that though, the year 2020 wasn't only about controversy, because we would have lost a couple of former sporting superstars, and we're talking about people like our Diego Maradona and our Kobe Bryant, among other sporting superstars that would have passed. And these are two people that will forever be in the history of basketball and football. And generally speaking, 2020 was a really rocky year, and it would take more than one video for me to go through some of the spooky things that would have happened throughout this year. So we're just gonna zoom in on a couple of the major talking points that would have stood out in 2020. The most outstanding movement that would have took place throughout 2020, in my opinion, would be that of the BLM movement, the Black Lives Matter movement. And only if you were actually living under a rock in 2020, you wouldn't be aware of the BLM movement. So just going to use this short video to zoom in on a couple of the things that would have happened as regards to the BLM movement. Now, the BLM movement is a movement that would have seen people from all over the world come together because of one main cause. And this being a sports channel, I am going to zoom in on the BLM movement as regards to sports. Take a look at a couple of the sporting superstars that would have played a major role in this movement. So throughout the middle to the latter part of 2020, we would have seen where majority of the sporting teams around the world would have allowed their players or their athletes to use their platform to support the BLM movement. And one will remember that first tour, the first cricket game that we had that came to us after the pandemic. We saw West Indies going over there to England, and then we had West Indies going down there to New Zealand. And they were allowed to show their solidarity for the movement, allowing the players to take the knee and before the game and stuff like that. Looking at how the West Indies cricket went through 2020, we can just use this as a positive. The mere fact that West Indies were actually the first cricketing team to go on tour throughout this little period here. They were able to go out and set the bar, to set the standard as to what, other players could do to show their solidarity for this movement. So thumbs up to the West Indies cricket team. Separate and apart from the West Indies cricket team, another group of personnel that we saw doing some very good work were actually the basketballers. We saw teams sitting out games in the playoffs. We had people taking the knee, and we had people using their social media platform to campaign against the whole racism thing and all of that. So, the basketballers actually did us proud. Not only were they able to go through the bubble, give us some basketball, but they also used the platform to actually show their solidarity for the movement. Yeah, man, so we had people working together as a team to support the movement. Having said all of that though, we actually had a couple of athletes that stood out, people that went the extra mile, that used their own personal platform around the clock 24/7 to sing this BLM movement thing. And I definitely think we need to point out a couple of these players. We're talking about people like our Colin Kaepernick, our Raheem Sterling, our LeBron James, and Michael Jordan. So these are a couple of athletes that would have stood out based on the work that they would have done throughout this little period of the BLM movement, gathering up steam and showing that, it is a unit that will fight for our rights and stuff like that. So big up to these players. And I mean, it's not limited to these four players that I would have highlighted, but these are a couple of the people that really stood out, using their social media platform, using their influence to get across to people. Yeah, man, so these are a couple of players that were actually there from the start. They didn't only pump their money in the cause, but they actually pumped their personal time. Because sometimes, we have some sporting superstars that they might want to show that they're a part of a cause, but they don't necessarily want to come out and speak. So what they will do is stay in the background and donate money. But these people that I would have mentioned just now, they actually came out and they were visible. Not only on social media, but also as regards to when they are doing their interviews, you know, they would have mentioned a couple of things as regards to the BLM movement. So shout out to these four athletes. Yeah, man. And as I would have indicated, guys, this isn't going to be a long video, just using a couple of minutes to highlight the BLM movement and, you know, some of the work that they would have done throughout 2020. Just before I finish the video though, guys, one honorable mention would be Manchester United's forward Marcus Rashford. And, you know, this, we're talking about a youngster that would have used his platform, used his influence to try and help battle child poverty over there in England. We're talking about somebody who would have been touted as the man of the year over there in England, you know. So shout out to Marcus Rashford, trying to use his platform, trying to use his influence to try and tackle child poverty. You know, he actually said this is something that he battled with throughout his childhood days, going to school. At times he would go to school hungry and stuff like that. So Rashford doing some very good work over there. I might need to make a video to highlight some of the work that he's doing, but that's it for the video, guys. So having come to the end of the year 2020, we can just hope that 2021 will actually be a better year in general, but also where sports is concerned. Hopefully we won't have a lot of sports taken away from us in 2020 because of any pandemic or anything of the sort. So we are going to step into 2021 believing that it's going to be a good year for sports, you know. But that's basically it for the video, guys. Sports to the bone, keeping you informed. Please remember to like, share, leave us a comment. If you have not yet subscribed, remember to subscribe to the channel. I'm out.